8. Hiya, folks! Scott here. I tricked myself into starting sooner than I wanted to. See, I caught myself off guard. That's how talented I am as a review guy. Not very many people can surprise themselves. But I can. If you just saw my last video, I was talking about the excitement of the past weekend. And I still haven't caught up on my sleep, so you'll have to excuse me if I'm a little woozy. But because I talked for so much about so much then, I have very little to ramble about now. So I will begin with ECW. It might be a short video. It might be a miraculously short video. I'm trying to look around and see if there's something that I can talk about. My hat is back. You remember the hat, my newsboy hat that would kind of flop down like that with the little brim? Love that hat. Finally got it back. You'll be seeing that very shortly. Oh, the ECW song is coming up. I might even wear it for the ECW song. Well, see, again, just tease, you know, it teases you. If you're not a fan of the songs, you're probably a fan of the hat, you know. Very rarely are people fans of the hat and the songs because, you know, there's just some kind of disconnect there. Sorry. And if I ramble, it has to happen. Now then, moving on to ECW. This is what, for the 9th of June, 2009? Okay, so Tommy won. We didn't talk about the results. Tommy won, and I was there, if you didn't see the other video. I'll tell you, the greatest thing about Tommy's win, the greatest thing about the whole match, when he hits Swagger with the crutch, right? You know that little floppy arm pad? I guess it was just the arm. It might have been the wooden part beneath it. But either way, that broke off, and it goes flying out into the audience, like right over the heads of the announce tables, way out into the crowd. That was wild. That I hope the TV audience got to see that, or the illegal internet audience got to see that, because I know there were probably more of you out there from the second. But yeah, that was the greatest part of the match. It really brought something, and then that was the win. So I was happy to see Dreamer win, and it was a nice moment. You know, sometimes you're watching these shows, and the winner wins, and it just feels good. You know, I felt good for Tommy then and there. So tonight, or last night on ECW, he was set to sign the contract to extend his run on ECW. Before he could sign it, though, out comes Swagger. No, Christian first, right? With a box of tissues. I'm thinking chocolates, because you see, sometimes my mind just finishes the thought in ways that it should be finished. Otherwise, instead of wait. Comes down now. See, this is the thing about Christian. He was kind of a jerk last night, and not in a good way, not in like a funny, charming jerk, cool jerk way. You know, he comes up with the tissues and he says, "Yeah, hey, cry baby, ha." And it could have been like a moment of camaraderie, like, "Ha ha, hey, oh, look at that, you buster." But it wasn't. It was just him being a jerk. Now, there's a wrestling news website. A headline said, "Spoiler alert," or spoiler, major, a top WWE star turning heel. It could have very well been Punk after the thing. I didn't read it because I've decided I don't want to read spoilers because it ruins the fun. I like to think about these things and plan what may happen. But it could be Punk, which is most likely, but it also could be Christian based on his behavior. I was a little, you know, I was disappointed in the guy. People still like him, so that might be a hindrance to a heel turn, but nevertheless, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, Swagger interrupts, Christian hits Swagger, and then he puts Dreamer through the table. The 3-for-all. I'm really, I don't know how that's going to turn out. That's kind of. I hope Dreamer retains at least for a little while, because I think this, at least with Dreamer, with the unlikely champion being there, I think it really, I like the dynamic. I like the, you know, I like the Christian and Swagger, who are, with all due respect to Tommy, are probably the more rightful champions. And then Dreamer, who is kind of the underdog favorite. I like it. So now, moving on. Now, we hear about this guy in green. If you saw my last video, I mentioned this Irish wrestler who will probably debut very soon, probably on ECW. Very funny looking guy. I doubt, of course, first of all, the guy in green, I didn't realize this until I read it later on that wrestling website that I was talking about. The guy in green supposedly saved the crew who was about to have the lights fall on him, which makes me think it's probably Hurricane Helms, or the Hurricane, that right? Not Helms. See, this is, I didn't know him, so I don't know the history of Hurricane. Somebody fill me in on the history of Shane Helms, Hurricane Helms, Gregory Helms. What has he been? Where did he start? He was in WCW, am I right? Fill me in. Sean Carlton Zero, I know you're going to be the one to do it, so you be the first. Okay, now then. Yeah, so guy in green save, so that leaves us hanging. We didn't get any resolution, so I look forward to that. Okay. See, I wrote in shorthand, and I'm trying to figure out what okay, that's it. Christian and Swagger in ME tag is what I wrote here. That means, yeah, Dreamer has apparently not been cleared to wrestle, so Swagger is going to have to team with Christian, much to Christian's dismay and such. I'm spitting as I'm saying this. I'm sorry. Now, moving on to the next match, or really the first match of the night, Tony Atlas versus Evan Bourne. I was pretty impressed. I mean, it was a short match over, I think, too quickly. Evan wins. Tony, and it might have been over quickly because Tony's probably, he did very well. I was impressed with his in-ring ability. He might not be able to go as long, being an older gentleman and out of practice and whatnot, I guess. But it was an all right match. I kind of feel that it was not a satisfying continuation of the Bourne-Henry deal. I don't know. I was hoping that would go somewhere, but it hasn't really yet. Next match we saw was Vladimir Kozlov versus Luke Hawk and Chris Louis. And again, still not really caring, although slightly closer to caring. I cared a little bit when it came to Kozlov this time. I don't know. I just don't think he has. I mean, you can put lipstick on a pig and you still have pig. In other words, you can give a gimmick to a boring guy and you still have a boring guy. Sorry, Vlad. I'm sure you're a delightful human being. Maybe. So that's that. Finally, the main event. Christian and Swagger, the slightly heelish Christian, who has been a jerk. He was a jerk with Tiffany backstage when he found out, you know, he had to team with Swagger, which kind of surprised me a little bit, because, you know, Christian, who all episode has been heelish, and Swagger, who's a heel, versus the heel team, or rather, Kid, who is a heel, and David Hart Smith, who we're supposed to believe is a heel. Still not doing it for me, old DH. Sorry, buddy. So Christian and Swagger versus the Harts. There's a Heart Attack, which I'd never heard of. The way it was said by Matt Stryker. Heart Attack! It must have been like an introductory statement of the move. Anyway, they all team up and start wailing on Christian. Swagger, Hart, and Kid. Hart Smith and Kid. They're pounding away, jumping away, bouncing and bopping, and then out comes Tommy Dreamer, of all people, with a kendo stick, and defends I have a white shirt right there, and every time I do that, I keep thinking that I've put a pin mark on the white shirt, so I will now gesture with the clothespin. So he swings around the kendo stick. See, now it's so much more freeing, you know. Anyway, swings. He defends Christian, and I'm thinking, okay, is Christian going to stand up and... Oh, that's another question. How much time do I have? Very little. The Unprettier. The kill switch used to be called the Unprettier. Am I correct about that? I watched the WrestleMania DVD, and they were calling Hawkins, Lawler, and Ross. Wow. Speaking of Hawkins, we didn't see him this week. They were saying Unprettier. They said Unprettier about 40 times, and they're not saying anymore. So somebody tell me that. I think time is up. Yes, it's up. I will talk to you very soon. Adios. So long.